So we call this meeting to order, the regular Merritt City Council regular meeting, October 12th, 2021.
With authority.
Yeah. So, we don't seem to have any late items.
Your Worship, I apologize. I also apologize. I just realized as we reordered this chamber, we took out the microphones in this place that we forgot to put back in. Anyway, sorry, there is a late item that staff are requesting to be added to the closed agenda tonight, which would require a unanimous vote of the council members present here. But because we're adding it proposing to add it to the closed agenda, it would be that an item be added to the closed agenda and the closure resolution be amended to add closure under section 91C of labor relations or other employee relations.
Okay. So then, do we have a second? All in favor? Carried. Okay. So, thank you. So it looks like we don't have any public input tonight. And so the next item on the agenda would be adoption of the minutes of the last regular council meeting. That the minutes of the regular council meeting held on September 21st be adopted. Do I have a mover?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, so moving on, we're on to the public hearing, which we don't seem to have. Number 6, general matters, delegations and recognitions, which we don't have. Finished business. So I guess that would take us to number 8. Okay. So 8.1, permissive taxes, adoption of bylaws. So at the regular council meeting, September 21st, 2021, bylaws 23 and 2324 were given 3 readings and were presented now for adoption. So we have 2 votes. So we have the amendment that the permissive tax exemption bylaw number 2323
2021 be adopted.
to be adopted.
Is it on?
Do we have a mover?
So moved.
All in favor? Carried. And so we also have that permissive tax exemption bylaw 2324-2021 be adopted. Do we have a mover?
Second.
All in favor? Great. That was pretty painless. Okay, so moving on to 8.2, we have the Claybanks RV proposed rate changes, and it looks like we have Mr. McCune here.
Thank you, Your Worship. Mayor and Council, I am here to speak about a Claybanks RV proposed rate change, and I will speak about the background of it, give you a little bit of background on it. Research indicated that in order to ensure a competitive and fair market return on the investment made by city taxpayers, it is necessary to amend the City of Merritt fees and charges bylaw. The rates currently charged for use in the Claybanks RV Park were changed in 2020 after remaining stagnant for several years. The 2020 increase brought rates up across the board, but allowed for rates to remain below the average of other comparable facilities in the region. This 2021 proposed increase will bring the RV park in line with comparable facilities for the busy season as well as the off-season rates that are being charged. Current RV park contractors have been busy this year, as well as a capital project that was finished, and extensive manual labor on behalf of the contractors was completed, and a couple dozen sites were established to upwards of triple the available winterized sites compared to previous years. Sticking back to notable rates, other noticeable changes are the elimination of the weekly high season rates and the weekly high and low season non-service rates. Due to booking complications and complexities of accommodating large booking groups, The 10% discount has also been removed. Large groups of over 10 sites will still be welcomed if they can be accommodated. Claybanks RV fees. The recommended amendments to the Claybanks RV park rate schedules are thorough and are based on a review of average fees charged by local and surrounding community RV parks. Keeping in mind that each one of these parks brings something different to the table. And if you guys have any questions about that, we can get into that later. Staff is recommending an increase to the fees charged in all categories to closely match our fee schedule to the average market fees in other comparable RV park locations. Under the existing fee structure, taxpayers are still receiving below average fees from users of the park, whereas with the proposed fee structure, taxpayers will benefit from greater income while still providing affordable RV fees for visitors. Staff recognizes that some of these fee increases may look sharp, particularly the 30% increase in low season monthly rates. However, there has not been any fee increase in that monthly low season Claybanks RV fee schedule in several years, and it is still comparable to or less than fees charged at other RV parks. This fee, like all the others, includes full access to hot showers and other park amenities. The proposed fee increases are set just below the average reviewed market fees. There are a couple tables in the report showing what the current fees are being charged and what the proposed increased fees are to be charged. And options for discussion, the council give 3 readings to the fees and charges amendment bylaw number 3222 2021, or the council amend fees and charges amendment bylaw 2322 2021 and provide readings as they see fit, or the council accepts this report for information. Financial risk and implications. For council's information, the city is entering into the 3rd year of the current contract with the RFP park contractor. Under this agreement, the city receives a percentage of all fees received, so these rate increases will directly impact municipal revenue as well. There is a list of other comparable RV parks that were consulted in regards to fee reviews. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Scott. Now looks like we have a question from Councillor White.
Are these fees going to start immediately, or is this for May, the spring?
If they are to be increased, and you guys were to vote in favor of give the 3 readings to the fees and charge amendment bylaw, they would, at the next council meeting, there would be an adoption of that change in the rate policy, and at that point, at this point, I will direct you to Mr. Lowe's.
Thank you, Ms. McEwen. Councillor White through the chair. Section 2.2 of the bylaws says that it will take effect on November 1st, 2021. So a bylaw takes effect on the later date of either whenever it is adopted or a date which is stated in the bylaw. And in this case, we're saying it would start on the 1st of November in this year if you proceed to adopt it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do not have a question for Sky, but I move a motion. Perhaps we should move this as an information item and accept it as such. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Motion. So I believe a motion has been moved, so you should find out if there's a seconder for that motion.
Okay, so do we have a seconder for the motion? Okay, I guess that's defeated then. Okay, so it looks like there was a question from Councillor Lutt.
Thank you, Mayor. Your Honor, I guess you're not Mayor, but
Yeah, it's worship.
Mayor, His Worship, thank you. That's Your Worship. Thank you. I see, Sky, that you've put a number of different RV campsites too. It would have been nice to have a chart as well to see what their rates are, so we can have a good comparison. to go by, because even though you've stated here, I'm not sure what their rates are, right? You know, because there's, I think that's an important piece that we need, that I feel comfortable stating, because, you know, there's a couple of issues here. You know, if our rates are too low, the taxpayers lose, but also some of the competitors lose as well, right? Because people would want to come to our parks. If they're too high, taxpayers lose again, and there are a couple of number of things. It would be really nice to see a graph as well as some of the other park rates, just to see how we're within reasonable expectations for those camping fees. And so, is that something we can maybe look at for next time?
I definitely could. I do have other park rate fees here in regards to Oliver and stuff that just were not in here.
Yeah.
This was just that they have been reviewed extensively, and that staff is recommending the increase. But
Yeah.
I could do that.
Nope,
If it was to come back next time.
Yeah, just to get that comfort level, because that would be really good. Thanks, Ken.
Well, no further comments or questions. I think we have to vote. We need to have a mover that council give. Council give first reading to fees and charges amendment bylaw number 2322, 2021.
Second.
All in favor? Or, well, first reading.
You can ask for today.
On first reading, okay.
You can.
Okay.
Typically, traditionally, first reading is something of this symbol to get it on the table, but debate can be taken at any time.
Yeah, second reading is not.
It's entirely up to council.
Okay. So all in favor?
What was against?
And opposed? Okay. So
Is
that's
that
carried.
very opposed?
Okay, carried then. Okay, so, council to give the second reading to fees and charges amendment by law 2322, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Okay.
Go to council and move it to
So let's go over there.
Thank you, Your Worship, for this opportunity to discuss it or share my thoughts. I believe the rates are suitable for Merritt, and raising them might not make them as suitable. For this reason, I am voting against the rate increase. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else have any comments or questions? I feel that a lot of these rates have been studied carefully, and I think that if we don't start raising them now, that we run the risk of being too low, and then we have a large gap in what the market could be. So I feel like I'd like to support this. So I guess if we have no other questions, we can just ask our
Council wants to vote on the motion.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I can see where Councilor Mangu is coming from on this. We want to make, attractive rates to have campers come in, but as I think we discussed around the council table before, we've got to be careful that we don't put the city in an unfair advantage over our competitors out there with running businesses as well. So if they have to, because they're having to pay taxes and a bunch of other things that the city doesn't have to pay, then we have to be really careful where we're sitting on that. We want to make sure the field is level as possible for all people in the marketplace. So. Otherwise, I can understand that we want to be competitive. If we have no other RV, campsites or anything in the area, then I would say, yeah, absolutely. But seeing how we have other people that are able to accommodate campers and everything, I'm supporting these increases.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, so I think we can have the vote on that. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, so third reading. That council give third reading to fees and charges amendment bylaw 2321 or 2322 2021.
Second. Oh.
So Christopherson and Luck. Dave? Okay. Okay, all in favor then? Opposed? Carried. Okay, so that takes us down to number 9 on our agenda for Fire Smart Community Funding. To be introduced by Mr. Anderson. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. Today we're just presenting a funding request. This has been put together by our grant writer, Andrew Nielsen, and our fire department, primarily Krista and Dave. So what we've got in front of you tonight is a application for 2022 Fire Smart Community Funding. A bit of a background on this. This has been a program that's been in place since 2018, and we took advantage of it in 2019 and 2020 to the tune of about $200,000. The 2022 request is in the amount of $50,000. There was a initial community wildfire plan that we had established back in 2006, which was extensively updated in 2015. And also updated again in 2019 to include a much larger perimeter for the city of Merritt, and it identified Merritt as a high-risk wildfire community, and as a result allowed us to go up to $150,000 a year in funding. The area that is covered under the request here is area above the golf course and below Juniper Drive, and the method of fuel management there is actually grazing of the area with goats. The benefit of that, there's minimal smoke. We're not burning away areas, so there's minimal smoke impact for that. What else is included in the application here is some Fire Smart training. Annual conference, there's a 2-day conference, and that includes 2 representatives for the City of Merritt for that conference. Fire Smart education, a number of sessions are included in the application request here for community education, school tours, large event at the fire hall, and another number of workshops at the Civic Center as well. There's also included in this application assessments of high-risk areas, and particularly 20 high-risk homes in the bench area, which could qualify for up to $500 in rebates per home. So that's been factored into the application request as well. So all of the costs of those programs have been included in our grant request, including the venue and equipment rentals and those sort of things. So once again, it's a request for $50,096 that we go for funding, which is 100% of the 100% funded by the grant. So there's no cost to the city for this particular program, and the city would oversee the management of the project as well.
Thank you for your report. My only question is, if we have up to 150,000, was it decided that because it's an annual thing that we seem to be applying for, that's what we aim for this year, because it seems to be a regular program?
Through Your Worship, the $50,000, there are multiple streams that happen during the year for the CRI program. Some of them managed through UBCM and Flinrod, so there may be other opportunities during the year to seek additional funding. We can get up to $150,000 per year, so this is the first stream.
Thank you.
Thank you. So my question is regarding the 20 highest risk homes in the bench. Is that determined based solely on their location, or are there other factors that make them high risk? I'm wondering how that assessment is made.
Through Your Worship to Councillor Fair, the 20 highest risk homes, I do not have the information on how that is derived. It may be in the report. It's a 62-page supporting package here. That would be a question I can ask of Krista to find out if there are, at this time, 20, or if that's a process that they need to go through to identify the 20 as a result of the funding. So we can get back to you with some more information on that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Well, here we have a question here from Councillor Pingu.
I'm prepared to move a motion if all questions are prepared, or that's what I was about to do, unless you would like to.
We do have a vote.
You need to have a motion open on that.
Yeah, so we can move. Sorry.
I'll do it. The council directs staff to apply to the CRI Fire Smart Community Funding and Support, and also the council directs staff to oversee project management and management of funds that are awarded.
I thought you had a motion. We're just moving that. Okay. So,
Made a motion. So, Councillor Bengu has moved the staff recommendation into a vote, so now if another member of council seconds that.
yeah. Okay. So, moved, seconded by Luck, and then all in favor? Oh, questions? Debate?
Just that I'm all in favor of this, and I've looked forward to this particular program for many years, and I'm glad to see them bring on the goats.
Agreed. I think that it's time that we have more active fire mitigation in the community with the climate change and all the changing heat patterns that we've had. So, any other comments? So, Councillor Fair?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I too am in favor of this, and I think that it's going to be very important to pursue any opportunities that we have. I'm quite worried personally about next year's fire season, and it was really good example, I think, at Logan Lake, where they had done a lot of fire smart preparations and may have saved their community. So I hope that if it comes to that, that Merritt will be in a similar kind of situation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree 100% with Councillor Furr, and I'm sure all of us would agree. As we've experienced, forest fires can present a clear and present danger, and preparation is the key to our survival. And I think this funding will go towards that effort. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so we have a vote.
Yeah, the motion's on the table, so you just need to.
Okay, so the council directs staff to apply for the CRI Fire Smart Community Funding and Support. So, all in favor?
So, acknowledge ownership. So
On the
both parts of the
Okay.
initial recommendation were moved by Councillors Bengu and Luck. So it's the whole thing can go.
Okay, and that council directs staff to oversee project management and that the management of funds are awarded. Yeah, okay. So, all in favor? Carried. Okay, so we're down to notices of motion. Are there any notices of motions? Any reports from council? Information items. Okay, so we have water consumption figures, information items. It doesn't look like Mr. Henderson's here, so I don't think.
We can answer questions if you have
If
them.
anybody has any questions on the figures presented? Does anyone have any questions? It looks like in 2021 we seem to be a little bit lower than in 2020 on a per capita basis, but I don't know if anybody had any questions specifically.
No, correct me if I'm wrong, but our numbers still look pretty high considering some of the other city averages and provincial average. Is that right, Mr. Smith? correct me if I'm wrong, I thought they seemed a little on the high side.
So if you scroll down to the lower graph, you'll actually see that it looks like we're as high as we were in 2020, but our consumption is way lower than 2020's consumption. Again, because the summer months where we're historically, like you see what happens in February, March, April, it's a lot like what January, or sorry, what basically October, November, December are some of your lowest water consumption months. And as those get recorded, it's just going to continue to pull that 2021 average down. We absolutely are still higher than the Canadian and provincial averages. And as we've talked about at some previous meetings, that's somewhat to be expected given we're a rural community, lower density than others. So no matter what, the configuration of our community is going to be higher than average, but still, I don't disagree. We are above those averages.
But overall, we like the trend.
We need to be, moving down. Like more than anything, we want people to know that their sacrifices this year have made a difference. So.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, so then we also have the capital projects update. I don't know if anyone has any questions on that. And we have two letters of support, and looks like mine doesn't want to open, so I can speak to one of these. I'm going to let Mr. Lois speak to them since my agenda doesn't want to open right now.
Thank you, Worship. Just a note on these, obviously about, I want to say a year ago, you passed the new letters of support policy, which allows staff and the mayor to issue what we essentially describe as non-controversial letters of support to organizations which request them, which saves them needing to come to council for a vote each time. So these three letters were all issued under that policy, and they're just presented so that you know what's being sent out.
Thank you very much.
If I may, a question did occur to me on the capital projects update. If I can backtrack so I can ask
Go ahead.
a question of that. Yeah, I just was hoping to get a little bit of an update on the downtown washroom situation. Hoping that perhaps there has been development since the last time we heard from Mr. Henderson on that.
Councillor Richard, or Your Worship. I'll get it, yeah. Thank you, Your Worship, through to Councillor Fair. So in terms of downtown washrooms with this particular project, what was down was the creation of the bathroom at Spirit Square, which we didn't receive the grant funding to proceed with. So we are bringing back, and you'll see it as part of your 2022 capital budget items, you'll see some proposals for downtown bathrooms for that. Were you referring to a different situation though, Councillor Fair, or was that what you were looking for?
That was it exactly.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know if there was any developments. Just very curious about that.
Yeah, you will see some updates there as part of your first capital project meeting as part of budget.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? So then 12.4, we have the City of Langley appointment to, again, missing. My scribe won't work, so.
I apologize profusely on behalf of every tech when this happened. So this one is a letter from the City of Langley. As you're probably aware, when municipalities appoint directors to regional districts, it's the dumb thing to appoint the mayor, but that's actually not a statutory requirement, it's just what everybody does. City of Langley are writing to all municipalities in BC requesting a legislative change because they would like it to be a statutory requirement to appoint the mayor as the director or one of the directors for municipalities that have multiple directors on boards. So that's just a letter that's come to you as part of that, and if you want to make a motion regarding that, instructing staff to write in support or to pass a resolution in support, then there is a 6-page letter in there explaining exactly how they would like you to go about it.
Councillor Christopherson.
My
My question is simply, are we aware of any municipalities that don't send a mayor for whatever reason? That they have it designated?
Through your worship to Councillor Christopherson, off the top of my head, I haven't heard of it. I'm going to glance over to Mr. Smith and Ms. Brick, who will be aware of other communities, but...
I'm going to be a bit careful with my words here, but I think this is a board that I envy the amount of time that they may have to be like this.
Well said.
Council may choose to proceed how you will.
Next item.
Yes.
Well said.
Then we have 12.5, the Regional District of Mount Waddington has sent us a letter. One thing that is opening for me. Letter regarding donations to Lytton for reconstruction of donation, and they are requesting that municipalities consider doing a similar donation pattern to what they've done there with all their electoral members there. They have a total of just over $3,400, and that can be something that individually we could maybe look at. So I don't think anybody has any questions on that. And then our last Councillor Fleck.
No, I read through this and I don't think they're asking for individual councillors to donate $1 per person. I mean, each one of us would be ponying out $7,500, right? I don't think I saw that reading through it. I think what they're asking here is for the council to debate if they should be donating $1 per citizen as a council, total council, to this fund. I think that's what they're asking here. So that's how I read it. So I don't think it's every councillor because I'm opting out. It's every council, so I don't see that right. So that's how I read that. Sorry, Your Worship, I just wanted to
Your Worship,
ask for clarity on that.
I'll happily. So I think the confusion here, because they're talking about it as electoral area directors, but directors have slightly different authorities than individual councillors do, so they have some discretionary budget for their electoral area, so they have a bit more autonomy. So I believe that you are correct in the interpretation. It's just that their difference in circumstances has led them to use it as if it is the directors providing those funds, but I do believe that it is the directors using their local government's discretionary funds to support that initiative. That's how I would read that as well. Particularly because the check is coming from the Regional District of Mount Waddington, not from correct. So
thank you for that clarity.
I think it was just the amount that I'm kind of wondering. Maybe
it could have been worded a little bit better. I think that's what Mr. Smith and I are kind of getting at.
Okay, and so on to 12.6, letter from the ambulance paramedics. Seems like they have appreciate.
Your Worship, I think they're just asking to share information. They're not actually requesting any action to be taken.
Yeah, that's what that looks like. Yeah, I had a hard time opening that one as well. So, sorry about that. So, okay, frozen again. Okay, and that takes us to our closed session. So, we now move to
Your Worship, sorry, just before we go to that, just a reminder that you unanimously voted to amend this resolution, so would you like me to read out the revised one?
yes, please.
That the meeting be closed to the press and public under sections 91B, personal information about an identifiable individual who is being considered for a municipal award or honor, or who has offered to provide a gift to the municipality on condition of anonymity. C, labor relations and other employee relations, and E, the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements, if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality of the community.
So we need a mover and a second.
Move.
Carried. now move into closed session.
We're normally going to 5-minute recess at this point, but we've only been in the